Good morning and welcome to the Wednesday, June 18th, 2025, Idaho's Board of Commissioners meeting. It is 9 a.m. and after this call to order for the meeting, the first thing we do is approve the agenda. And one thing we know is that we will adjourn into a non-public session to discuss an employee review. Any other modifications to the agenda?
Nope.
No.
I'll make the motion that we approve this agenda
Second?
with the modifications. All in favor of this with a non-public session, say aye.
Aye.
That's 3-0 on that. Next thing we do is approve the minutes of June 10th. Do you want to approve the minutes or do you want to wait for next week when the administrator will be here? I have one modification, and that was, so I'll make a motion that we discuss and approve the minutes of June 10th.
Yeah, there's, I think we all discovered, a couple of modifications, which are real minor.
Yes.
Real minor.
So do you want to do those modifications?
Yeah.
Let's see, let me get this open here. Where is draft minutes? What do you have?
Okay, under the DPW report, bullet point 2, she said the 2009 International, is that a correct year for that truck?
It is.
Okay, I was thinking the Rams, it was 2019, so that's fine, no problem there. And then on page 2, the bullet point regarding found the end of a culvert on Presidential. There are 2 culvert ends that still
I have to
need to
find
be
where you are.
identified. What?
I have to find where you are on page 2.
Page 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet points down. Okay, and the final sentence on the 6 bullet point says, 1 on a class 4 road and on Appinville. I think she meant a class 5.
Did you find where he is? I don't see where you are. I'm on
Right.
the second page.
Right here.
Okay, let me get up there.
So it's still under the DPW report.
Oh.
This is the way mine printed out. You're
I
looking
see.
at it
No,
on the screen.
your layout's different.
Yeah.
4 bullets from the beginning for Jeff.
Well, no. If I go to, okay. So
Found at the end of the culvert on Presidential, there are 2 culverts that
Yes.
still need to be identified. One is
she said a class 4 road. I don't think there is such a thing. She meant class 5.
There are, but not otherwise.
Right.
A state highway is a certain state highway is a class 4.
Okay. Okay. So
So I got that class 4 road. Okay.
So it needs to be changed to a class 5 or class 6, whatever it really is. I'm pretty sure it's a class 5. And that's all I have.
Presidential view?
Not Presidential, no. He said there are 2 culvert ends that still need to be identified. One on a class, she said, 4 road, and on Appinville. Appinville obviously is a class 6 road. But
5.
class
I think
5,
she might be talking about class 6 Adelboden,
Yes.
which they did find the end of that culvert. That remember the one that had the stakes and
okay.
Yep.
In either case, this 4 needs to be
To be a
changed to a
6.
6.
Yes.
Yes.
okay.
I transpose that.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. The only thing I had was under my report, 3 bullets from the end of it. I'm talking about. It starts by FEMA sent notification that they've electronically deposited 42,000.
Yeah.
And the last sentence says, Mark advisor will be purchasing a galvanized steel culvert. I'd like to add that that's an arch. That I don't want people to think that we're replacing it with a round corrugated galvanized steel.
So
like
the
the
wording
old
should
culvert
read
went.
galvanized arch
Purchasing
steel
a
culvert.
galvanized arched culvert that will be heavier and more rugged. So just the word arch goes in there.
Okay.
Any other changes?
No.
All in favor of the minutes being approved as modified, say aye.
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 3-0 on that. Next we go to at 9:05, we go to the operations manifest for $7,542.38. I'll make a motion that we discuss and approve that manifest.
Second?
Aye.
There was one thing that I noticed. There was an invoice from Albany Service for spring work,
Yeah,
and I don't know, a little detail I noticed is that this invoice says it was created on January 15th. And the invoice is dated June 6th. Created January 15th, yes.
January 15th. Is this something that was,
Springs for plows, 2 plows. So I guess we can remember to ask Jeff
yeah,
what he knows about that.
maybe it was something that dates back to then that was identified, but they couldn't get around to it till now, I don't know.
Do we have anything else on this invoice?
I just wanted some, I mean, this is almost like all Greek to me, so I was hoping Jeff could clarify some of the, what was being done to this truck, so we in the public can know.
Do you wanna approve, I don't know if there's enough questions to not approve it, but bring it up when he gets here, just for our own knowledge?
I'm okay with approving it, I'm sure
Okay.
it's all perfectly legit, but that's a question regarding the date and then just some explanation as to what
Yes.
was done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've been doing what, business with Albany Service for
He's gonna have more to say about
Ages.
the 2009 International when he gets here. They had their grinders and metal and they were blow torching, and he'll have something to say about that. They were doing that at 7 o'clock this morning when I got there.
always in.
So all in favor of approving this manifest for $7,542.38, say aye.
Aye.
3-0. There's the manifest to sign. And there are checks. The second manifest is for the water system. And that's for a total of $11,635.42. I'll make a motion that we discuss and approve this agenda. Second on the motion?
The manifest, yes. Second.
Okay, so the bulk of this is paying the water operator for the months of April and May, I believe.
Yes, April, May.
And that and all the work orders during that time period add up to $8,918.17. There's testing of the pump houses and government buildings and grounds. Any discussion on this manifest for $11,635.42? All in favor of this manifest, say aye.
Aye.
3-0 on that.
I saw Granite State, one of the vehicles on her property today, driving around.
The testing company.
Yeah, the testing company. I guess there's more testing being done.
We're going to cover the DPW. We asked Jeff to come here at 10 o'clock today. So we'll skip to the commissioners' reports. And let's see, so we're doing that at 9:10. And the most important thing I think we can discuss today is the pursuit of TAN loans and cash flow for the month of July. So a little background, I don't know how much we talked about it last week, but the tax bills are due to the town on July 10th, and we would expect to get paid. Usually they pay us pretty quickly after that. We have one big bill coming in. We have two big bills. One is for for Primex,
Yes, the insurance.
for the insurance, which is over $60,000, 60,000 and change. And Jennifer checked the terms of that, the billing day for that is July 1st, and we have 45 days to pay that, which gets us out to the middle of August. So that's not the pressing one. The pressing one is another big bill for over $61,000 and change, which is due to the New Hampshire Bond Bank for a loan that a previous board did for the Rhineac tank project and the forced main. They even paved Bristenstock, so we're paying a mortgage on a paving job as a result of that. But anyway, that's the cruncher for us, is that our cash flow shows that the unassigned fund balance, which carries us cash flow into June, will be running out within 2 weeks or less of having to make this $61,000 and change payment to the bond bank. And Northway gave us a TAN loan last year, but Northway has now become Camden National Bank. And we're finding out that Camden National Bank isn't doing TAN loans anywhere near the way that Northway did,
Or any of the prior banks that we've worked with.
or any in our experience.
Yeah,
And so, we don't know, they want us to hire a specialized attorney called a bond counsel that will prepare a note document as we're selling a bond to the bank. And we have to do all the paperwork, where the banks always did this as part of the transaction. And last year, Bank of New Hampshire had us having to hire an attorney to write a legal opinion of our legal authority to do a tax note.
yeah,
And that was going to be $2,500 with an attorney in southern New Hampshire. And Camden National Bank is saying that same attorney's name is one of two names that they know of that can do this work. And I'm not understanding whether $2,500 was just for that one letter that we were asking for, and it'll be many thousands of dollars to have her do the work to do what Camden is specifying for us. So I'm thinking there's a liability that we're in a time crunch, and I don't know how long it takes the attorney to do one of these things, because we've never done it before, and we don't know how much it costs. That's background. Today I came in early and talked to Linda, and she has an idea that the selectmen could vote on July 8th to pay us our mid-year payment, which is half the tax rate of last year, well, half the taxes owed of last year, which is over $300,000, $387,500. Vote to pay us on the 8th. We could have a check by the 10th. The bond bank wants us to go to Camden National Bank and do an ACH transfer on July 15th of the $61,000 and change. So, I think
we'll have the cash.
I think that's a great solution, and it's great having Linda know all this stuff in her head.
Yeah.
So, I'll make a motion that we ask the town administrator to put it on the agenda for the July 8th meeting, to have the selectmen vote as to whether they would authorize us to be paid in full. And then get the check on July 10th.
Second.
Any further discussion on that?
Just, I don't want to go too deep, but I think we still need to investigate how to get a TAN loan the easiest and most economical way in the future, whether it's from Camden or another bank. A big question would be if we still have to go through this bond council hoops that we have to jump through. I would hoping that'd be a one and done that would carry us through several years, if not in perpetuity, as to who we are, how we get our revenue, and and why we're a safe bet for advancing, getting a TAN type loan. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. I think that's for the future. So yes,
So, as part of that discussion, this week I had several discussions with the treasurer, who pointed out to me that solving the problem for July doesn't mean that we don't have a problem in December. Down to a few weeks, 2 weeks again, as we wait to get the town's check in December, and our cash flow is based on the amount of money we got in July, and does it cover us right through July, December 31st, and getting. And in those discussions, we kicked around ideas like, we have over $500,000 in the Camden National Bank. Between having $373,000 in the water assessment fund, and an operating balance of over $200,000 today, or as of March 31st, the last time we got a bank statement. We haven't got the June bank statement yet from right now. So here we are with a bank that has $500,000 in cash.
Our cash.
And the hoop that we have to go through to borrow a little bit of money to cover us for an 8-day period seems ludicrous.
It does.
Where we could move some money within their bank to guarantee a loan. Based on the terms of the loan, is that money will sit there guaranteeing that they're going to get reimbursed for the loan.
Till we pay them off the normal way.
So then the discussion was, we have the operating budget pay the electrical bills for the water system. And we transfer money from the water system to the operating budget to reimburse the operating budget for bills that we pay out of the operating budget's checking account. So it was, why couldn't we go to great lengths, even have a public hearing to say, we want to transfer a certain amount of money out of the water assessment fund to the operating budget as kind of like a short-term loan, well documented, that when we get the payment from the town of the tax money for Idlewise that's due, which is over $700,000 a year, that we reimburse the unassigned, we reimburse the water assessment fund. In other words, we're not paying any interest, we're not paying for attorneys to borrow our own money. And if the DRA has a problem with it, if the auditors have a problem with it, we show them the documentation that this wasn't a mistake, this wasn't mismanagement, this was really intentional, it was made very public that this is what we were doing. And the reason I say that is, when a board overspent the operating budget, broke state law in 2018 time period, the DRA response to that was, you'll have a public hearing and discuss this with your taxpayer voters. But that's all they said. There was a hearing with a pretty good room at the library, yes, at the library. And people asked questions, and the answers they got kind of skated around the issue that the law was broken, and they were there to make it public and see what the public's reaction was. I guess the public reaction was, or fate had it, that those people aren't commissioners anymore. But that was the reaction of the DRA, is to hold a public hearing. And I thought, we can have a public hearing in advance of doing it. And we're not overspending the budget, we're just doing a transfer of funds and transferring it back in the same fiscal year.
What you're saying makes a lot of sense, but I still have some major league questions. This may be a very naive question, but does not the New Hampshire Department of Revenue have regulations, rules in effect that would apply to banks that provide TAN loans? Because
No.
most municipalities probably have, many, the need for a TAN loan.
You would think there'd be a nicely worked out efficient system for the 200 plus municipalities that have to do TAN loans,
Right,
but you're on your own.
okay,
Yes.
so there's none,
There is none.
okay.
They'll point to the municipal bond bank, which is a fiasco trying to do a TAN loan with them, I think.
Okay, then the second question is, Camden, who the heck are they? Are they somebody who came from out of state and just acquired North Bank?
Yes, Camden, Maine.
Camden, Maine. Okay, so they came from out of state.
And they're not having a good time doing this transition from what I hear in the street, including the RCB branch and such.
Well, then,
So
we may have some leverage in working with Camden in trying to have a TAN loan in the future that's saying, hey, another bank, which will remain unnamed, screwed us over, so we went to Northway for better service. And we got it, but now you guys are kind of putting us into a bad position. There are other options out there,
Another way to solve this is that we push the unassigned fund balance up to where we don't need a TAN loan. We used to not get TAN loans because the unassigned fund balance had the cash flow to cover us well into the first payment by the town. Previous annual meetings spent down the unassigned fund balance, and previous boards did also. So now, one of the solutions that we could come up with for going forward after this year is that we have a policy that the unassigned fund balance will be a minimum of X number of dollars, which is what we need for cash flow for the first half.
I think that's a very good solution, but in making it easy to understand, when you take it down to your Joe six-pack homeowner, hopefully they have enough emergency cash in their bank accounts to cover emergencies. But nonetheless, many take out a homeowner's line of credit or a home equity loan as a just in case. It's there just in case. They may never use it, but if God forbid something happens, it's available to them, and they're not in the, they're not underwater. So I think still for the future, I think it's something we, might want to consider.
if the unassigned fund balance is high enough, we will not ever need a TAN, because we will have more cash available than the voted budget for the year. So we will have more cash available than we are allowed to spend.
Okay. So
And that's why for many, many years, through the entire early 2000s and and from the 90s forward, the district never needed a TAN.
The only risk there is if a major event happens by surprise that requires us to use the unassigned fund balance to pay for an extraordinary expenditure.
That's what I was talking about.
Then we
That's
would
always a risk.
we can't rely on the unassigned fund balance. But we still have the water assessment fee.
Yes.
And it's not clear to me that the RSA that changed in 2013, where we had to account for them separately, doesn't mean that they can't be transfers, because the auditors never questioned the water asset fund transferring money to the operating budget, because the operating budget has a checkbook and pays bills.
Right.
They never said you have to have a checkbook for the water assessment fee, and the water system has to pay its own bills, and you can't be transferring money because it has to be that separated. So therefore,
We do those transfers on a monthly basis.
I know,
And it's certainly okay with the auditors and the DRA, because they see those transfers every month, every year. And nobody has
that
ever
question,
questioned it. So I believe it's perfectly okay to do that.
I'm willing to take that leap once and be told that it is or it isn't.
Yeah.
But based on that, we get through this year and we have a new system that covers us going forward, such as the unassigned fund balance or.
Okay, so conceptually,
The only fear I have is that we're doing so much that we solve the problem for July and we kick the can down the road that we're into December in a panic trying to solve it again in December.
that's why I still think we need to jump through the hoops, even if it's for 1 year. But again, I'm hoping, if you go through this whole bond council process, if you really have to go through it, it can't be an annual thing. It's got to be good for. I would think.
No.
It's only annual.
1 year.
It's the state of your municipality at the time that you're doing the loan.
Right.
You don't get blessed forever as a
All right,
reliable.
then we need to find the most economical way to do that.
That's what we did last year.
Right.
We moved to Northway to do it.
Right. Well, then
Right.
we might need to move to another bank, or you.
Well,
I'm sure another bank would be happy to give us.
I asked the attorney that we use in Freiburg that wrote the opinion letter, who was suggesting that if we're having trouble with Camden,
Move
move
to another
to
bank.
another bank.
Yeah.
So last week I said, do you know of a brick and mortar in New Hampshire that you would recommend that we move to? And there's been no response, so I'm concluding that I may be crossing the line into billable advice that I'm asking for, or,
He was hesitating to give an answer,
but he was suggesting we move to another bank, but may not have known of another bank for us to move to,
Right.
so.
But we could certainly look into any other bank that's in the area, and there's many of them,
Yes.
and see what their rules are, and just simply know that in our back pocket what we need to do. And do they underwrite their own TAN loans, or is it going to be this bond council thing that Camden's making us go through?
Well, the interesting language that the VP at the Camden National Bank wrote in an email in his first attempt to explain to me what the difference was of what they're doing, is he pointed out that they do underwrite the loan and that Northway didn't. Just the opposite of what you would think. So the mechanisms that he's talking about, I guess I won't understand until I pay a big fee to a bond counsel to actually do it and see what they produce, and then I'll see. I've never seen these documents.
Right.
Have you ever seen the note that
Yeah.
gets produced? The actual note?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I'll start there if we have archives of notes that we've gotten in the past.
We do. We have prior years.
But something
TAN.
tells me we have so many other things to do.
Right.
This could be a pet project
but
for
we-
you.
I can do some research. I'll do that. Yeah, but at the same, we don't want to reach a extremis come the end of the year, so we need to jump on it now. But okay, but getting back conceptually, your idea of having enough funds in the unassigned fund balance to cover us sounds great. But again, conceptually, what is the target number? 1 times the operating budget? 1.5 times the operating budget? I don't know. I'm just trying to think. And it's not a definitive answer right now. It's just.
Why do I think it was 1/3 of the operating budget?
I
And
believe the current policy is that it's somewhere around 1/3
And
of
it
the
should be a half.
operating
I
budget.
should move it to a half.
Okay, so to be able to get away from TAN loans and cover our operating budget, we should, when our revenue funds fall short, and we have to rely on the unassigned fund balance, that unassigned fund balance, we should always target it to be 0.5, half of what the annual operating budget is? Is that what we're talking about?
Those round numbers work in my head because half
'Cause it's
half
half a year.
is going to be 350,000, which is more than what we need for
Right.
each half of the year, for the first half anyway.
Okay, but the number's gonna change with inflation, but that 0.5 of the total annual operating budget is not. That will probably be a pretty good
That's
ballpark
policy.
figure to shoot for.
Right.
Okay, so,
And before, the 1/3, the 0.33 policy wasn't set for cash flow of tax anticipation. It was set for emergency expenditures. Cash flow was not part of why that policy was set,
but now it will
but
be.
now it will be.
It will be. But probably a little buffer needs to be in there for emergency as well. I mean, the 0.33, that was good for emergency, but now we're looking at mainly cash flow, but gotta
So if I was to
have money
tell
for a rainy
Outlook,
day as well.
if I was to tell Outlook to remind us to start dealing with cash flow, we would start doing it in October to handle the December issue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, September or October.
I'm gonna say October 7th, we're going to deal with cash flow so that we're all set for the end of the year. I'll tell you this whole story.
Okay. And I will certainly look into what the existing policy is and see if we're gonna change the existing policy for the unassigned fund balance from the 2/3 to the 50%.
1/3 to 1/3.
1/3 to.
I don't want to reduce, I want to go up. Okay, that works for me.
So if we're all done with the banks, I'll tell you that the vacuum truck, I don't know if you saw the pictures of the vacuum truck.
I did.
Monster truck.
Yeah, huge.
Um,
I've seen those trucks before, but not as big as that one. That was a huge one.
So they were going along fine. The DPW was impressed with what it does, and they got to Oak Ridge Road, and the truck broke down. The PTO seemed to fail, and the truck didn't look like it was going to be able to move at all. In a phone call I had yesterday with Jeff, it looked like they needed a big wrecker to get it off there and get it to their mechanic back in Meredith somewhere. It turns out the driver was able to get the truck going, but couldn't use any of the built-in equipment on it, so he limped back to Meredith with the truck, and we're waiting to hear about the repair of the truck and when they're gonna reschedule to come back. Turns out that their other big truck is also down at that company.
Oh no.
So that didn't go so well yesterday. Backing up into last week, our water operating company was going to put in valves on Grissom and on Bergdorf and Aspen for the water main project from Aspen to number 5 Bergdorf. On Grissom, they were digging down for the valve that would be on the uphill side of Grissom going away from the culvert, damaged culvert. They dug down to 11 feet and couldn't find the water main.
Really?
The ground they were digging through looked pretty clear that was fill that was put in the 60s when that road was built. It looks like they put the water main in on a road that went like this, and then came back and took the curse off of the angle of the road by filling it in, which means that the original water pipe that might have
way
been down
deeper.
5 or 6 feet is now down more than 11 feet. With the size of the machine they had, that's as far as they could go. So I had to make a decision to say, backfill this thing. And because it was that side of the road, we were only having the valve down that far off the intersection with Aspen to cover the one house that was there and the potential for a house on the other side. So by not having the valve there, shutting the valve off on Aspen takes care of isolating the culvert on that side of it, but doesn't allow us to deliver water to the existing house or the empty lot. The empty lot can be serviced, have its service line come off Aspen, and they'd be on the correct side of the valve for that. And Ian even questions whether the existing house has water service or not. I haven't had a chance to go check that. So I'm gonna look at that and then decide whether we have a bigger machine dig down and find that water main, cause we decided that we do still want to put a valve in there. But right now, it doesn't look to me like it's a critical thing for us to have the valve there for what could be the sake of one house that we're not sure is on the water system at all.
Were they able to put one on the other side?
Yes,
Okay,
which is,
Yeah,
So
I saw,
we
I
can
saw the
still-
picture. I saw the
That's the
isolation
good
valve,
news.
yeah.
yes, so
That
as
was-
long
that
as
was the
we
more
can
critical
isolate
one.
that area,
that's the
yes.
whole area.
Yes,
Okay, so then they went over to where they had cut the pavement out of Aspen. Well, evidently it's the same kind of story as they were digging down, they got down and they couldn't find the main there with the size machine that they had.
Wow.
So that was a wipeout. So they backfilled that, and evidently they didn't have time to go and even attempt number 5 Bergdorf for the other side of the water main installation. So the good news is I didn't write up the whole contract for the two preferred companies to bid on doing the job, because now the job includes putting the valves in on Aspen and number 5 Bergdorf with the bigger machines that they have, that they can go down deep, but they have to find it, so that's going to be an increased cost.
So we only have one isolation valve in right now.
out of 3 attempts.
Out of right, but we want a total of 3 isolation valves, right? Or
We want 2 on Grissom. Well,
2 on Grissom.
we may
Not one.
want the other one on Grissom, and when we see whether the only house that's on the high side of Grissom is a customer of the water system, we don't know that. Ian tends to think it doesn't. I don't know why, but we need to verify that.
Right.
And then we'll decide whether it's worth it for one house to put in a valve that costs thousands of dollars to put in.
Right.
The other two valves, there's multiple valves on Aspen, it's a cluster that we're putting in, and one valve on the water main at number 5, Bergdorf. Those two didn't get put in at all. So we're paying for 2 digs that didn't go to fruition. And that's showbiz.
Yeah.
That's the digging business. This has happened before.
Yeah,
Playground Hill in Appinville.
Exactly, that's
That
where I was
pipe was
going.
put down they went down 12 feet and they didn't find it.
Yeah,
Man.
And they know it's there. It has to be there. So, that's that commissioner's report. Let's see what else I have. I did sign the contract for the project today where R.L. Heath and Son are digging 4 test holes to see if there's ledge in the path of the new water main. And he is going to ditch all of Bergdorf under the FEMA spec, and the cubic yards of fill are gonna be trucked over to a property in Albany that can take as much of the fill as we can produce. And their 2 agreements on having the material delivered have been signed, and they're in the office, and I sent a copy to FEMA and New Hampshire Emergency Management because they are protected again. They are held harmless also by the delivery of this stuff.
Right, I saw those, I read those, yeah.
Heath has 2 10-wheelers that he's gonna be using to get the ditch material over to Albany. The DPW said because their schedule changed with the Belmore truck being out of commission, that if need be, one of them could use the village's International 7400 6-wheeler to be the 3rd truck if it makes Heath more efficient at ditching Bergdorf. So that's an option call that they can make at any point during the day. They were welding when Jeff gets here at 10, he'll tell you about the International truck. They're finding new things, new exciting things.
Yeah.
The 2009 International.
sounds
Welding,
expensive.
bubble gum, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Did you wanna see that? So, I'm sure I did other things, but that's enough for now. You're up to date on all the FEMA stuff.
Okay, my only, from my report is, was Jennifer just gonna go ahead and order that monitor from Amazon, or like the security cameras? Do you want me to do that, cause I have a Prime account and get free shipping and it's usually a lower cost, or, I don't know what, she didn't ask me to.
She didn't specifically ask, but there was a difference between, and a comment made about that's a Prime price. So we'll ask her, and if it's gonna be more cost effective,
And let me just do it like I do with the security
then we'll
cameras.
ask you to do it, yeah.
Okay.
We'll
So we're gonna
take
wait.
advantage of your Prime.
We're gonna wait and talk to her and then make a motion?
Yeah, cause I don't,
Okay,
she may have already ordered it. We
Right.
don't know.
okay.
That was my question this
Right.
morning, right? It's just,
Right.
it's open as far as I'm concerned, but if she didn't, it just makes sense for me to go ahead and order it.
Yeah,
Get reimbursed like I did for the
yep,
security cameras. Okay, that's all I have.
okay. I put together a couple of draft letters, one to 28 Burn and one to 10 Oak Ridge. She actually printed them if you need to read them.
Oh, I read them, I have them, but yeah, I read them, but.
I guess they're printed so we can sign them.
Well, they're not on letterhead.
Yeah, we gotta get them on letterhead first,
Okay.
but if you want a paper copy instead of going into.
And here's the other one.
You gave me two of the same.
Oh, okay, so
Those must be two of the same.
10 Oak Ridge, yeah, you want 10 Oak Ridge.
So,
So we could approve the letter and then have it on a letterhead signed out of session?
yeah. Yeah, as long as it reads well. Oak Ridge is the same one that we sent to, the property owner on St. Moritz, for putting stuff in the ditch line. And on Burn, it is, two different situations. One that I copied Chicora Review for being too wide, and then also put in the same statements regarding stuff in the ditch along Barden.
Dinah, do I sit here and?
Oh, I didn't know you had them yet.
They look fine to me.
Okay?
Yeah, they look good to me.
So I'll make a motion that we approve these two letters going out and sign it out of session once they're on letterhead.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Any further discussion?
not on those.
How do you vote?
Aye.
3-0 on that.
Okay, and this was ready last week, or ready for, signing the end of last week. Mark and I both have signed it, but this is the letter to Sheriff Riccardi, that we discussed. She needed to change the
Link.
link.
Yeah.
And that is now properly set for the annual meeting minutes.
Okay.
This way.
That one. Okay, and I'll jump to what is listed as the administrator's report, but there's been two driveway applications that came in. One for 10 Grenville, the other for the new house proposed on Riggy. That the information, when we first looked at it, still had an Upper Lakeview, but the driveway's coming from Riggy. So he did change it to the address on Riggy.
Good.
So when do we want to look at driveways?
Well,
Or do we want to
did
right
he
now?
get the town approval for his Riggy address?
I don't know.
So should we, there's two things I think that we can make going to look at this driveway contingent on. One is that the tent is removed blocking Riggy Road, Class 6 Riggy. And the second is that he's got approval for the address that he's applying for. If that makes sense to you.
It does.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that, I thought Jennifer said she checked with upstairs that he did that process of getting a change to Riggy from Upper Lakeview. But we need to verify that.
So do we want to hold on these till next week, or?
The Riggy one for sure. Is there anything unique about the Granville one that we need to know?
No.
We should probably go to Granville.
Yeah, we can certainly.
When do you wanna do that?
The bond is there.
Negative grade drawing?
First thing just says
Thank you.
the street
Each one more.
drops about 2 feet from road, the driveway, and that's just simply a written statement. It's not actually a drawing.
Just send it back for that.
And it does not say whether or not he's putting in for a hookup. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, there's a third page here that says he will be going in for a hookup to the water system, and that the driveway will have a negative grade to Granville.
So really all we need is a drawing and we'll be good?
You can probably look at this one. I'm not gonna open the big drawing. Cause it does show where the driveway is gonna be and.
I'll sign that. When do you wanna go to Granville?
Don't we have a meeting tomorrow at 1?
Non-public.
Non-public,
And that's
or
it,
2, at
two, isn't it?
At 2.
So do we wanna do,
Wanna just meet there at 1 o'clock? Town Granville? Or 1:15, I don't think we're gonna need that much time there. Then we could go to the office for the non-public.
It's up to you, Nancy.
yeah, that would work for me.
So we're saying 1:15 Thursday at Granville, 2 o'clock at the office?
Yes.
So when we recess this meeting, it will be continued at Granville at 1:15.
Correct.
Alright. Anything else, Nancy?
Nope, that's, oh, we did have the public hearing, we should discuss that.
Yes.
We did have the public hearing and,
On the road ordinance,
On
road and parking
the
ordinance.
highway and parking ordinance. And, I have sent it to,
The chief.
the chief. Don't have any comments back from him yet.
So we should hold
So
off.
we should hold till next week. And I'll make sure that by next week it's on letterhead, has the proper heading and that type of stuff, the way the ordinances should be. And there's no signature lines right now, cause right now it's just, we're still in draft.
Still in draft, yeah.
So we'll make sure that's ready and we can sign it next week.
Okay.
I think that we should look at the signage that's at the Hopewell parking lot. Maybe I'll get pictures of them and send them to the office and have them distributed to you guys. Cause we should probably be prepared to have new signage based on the changes to the ordinance.
Yes, and
So why don't we meet at, well, at 1 o'clock, go to Granville for 1:15. I mean, we take just what signs are there. We don't have to come up with a decision as to what new signs we'll read, but we'll know once the ordinance is approved.
Yep.
All right, so
So now we're going to Hotwell at 1.
Hotwell at 1, Granville at 1:15, office for non-public at 2.
Do you wanna talk about the hearing more?
there was only one person there in the public, so that was kind of sad to see. I thought there could have been some other people that had some input as to what they want for having for that, but overall, I think we're putting together a good ordinance that will protect it as overflow parking, especially since part of this new ordinance restricts parking on the roads during the daytime hours. So that would be additional use of the parking lot as overflow parking. And I think that's what it was originally intended to be, and it'll be good to see it turned back into that.
Right. And I'd just like to make a comment is, there probably will be some people who are going to complain saying, I didn't know about this meeting. And ignorance is not an excuse, but we need to tell people that, you know, to get information as to what's going on, you have to check the VDOE website. Public hearings are also posted in the Conway Daily Sun, also on our bulletin boards in front of the office and at Hutwell. And the one place you probably will not see it, maybe, but never rely on the Facebook sites, because that's not official. That's just a sort of unofficial source of information, but not official. So if you didn't know about the public hearing, it's no one's fault but your own. But to reiterate, it's real easy. You can even call the administrator, call her, is anything going on? Check the website, look at the bulletin boards, or come to these meetings, or watch them on Madison TV after the fact. That's my O2, and I'm sticking with it.
Anything else?
Nope.
Perfect timing, Jeff.
Good.
Let's see, so where are we in the agenda? We went through the Tan Blind Council driveway applications for the administrative highway and parking ordinances you just covered with the hearing. I talked about the disposal agreement. I signed that and sent that to the state, FEMA, and we have a copy in the office. No correspondence. Public appearance? Any comments from the treasurer?
I really like the way somebody raked Geneva Beach. It looks pristine.
Was that Yuri?
Yep.
Good?
Looks pristine right now.
That's his favorite beach.
Mine too. So anyway, I just wanted to put that.
Did he have a chance to rake all of them?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Good.
We got all the
I
beaches
noticed
blown off, cleaned up, and raked out for the season.
Little
Good.
Beach seemed to be getting hairy, growing grass in the sand.
Oh, on Boulder.
Yeah. Used to be called Little Beach for
Oh.
Little Pond.
Okay. Yeah.
Geneva Beach used to be called Maggie Payne Beach
Oh.
because Maggie Payne lived close to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so hats off to the new employee. Something visual. That's it on public comments. We'll move on to non-agenda items. So we'll go to the DPW report. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Gee, I just see a star there, huh? Oh, a dot. Well, I got a few things.
Bet you do.
Yeah, we had a very, very productive week last week. Unearthing culverts that I don't think have been unearthed in a long, long time in the district. The basins on Geneva, we had found there were actually two of them on the pond side of the road. And the inlet end on the other side of the road, there's like a little dock that comes off of someone's property, or a little walkway there, to cross over the bog into the road. Well, we found the entrance there, a little exploratory digging, but what we really did was we opened up the basins after we found them and followed where the pipe went across the road. And with the metal detector and some diligence, we were able to find that and get that flowing. Kind of almost cleared that whole little mosquitoed area right out. The exit of the pipe is down by the pond, and a little dig in there, some leaves and pine needles. She got flowing, so that was huge. Another one was a culvert pipe on 13 Apronvale Way. I haven't found that end of that pipe in my existence here, or Tony's existence. Again, with the metal detector and some perseverance, we found the end of that pipe. and actually were able to dig it out and find daylight.
Saw the picture.
Yeah, so
yeah.
actually there was a little glimmer of light through that pipe. We had bought, we bought a collar to extend the pipe because we thought it ended kind of up in the road. But then, like I said, with a little light digging and some handwork, the metal detector kept showing it, kept going. So until we found the end of it, and we didn't need to extend the pipe, the culvert, so we didn't. We just undug it and, like I said, saw light through it and cleaned it all out there, so it's gonna flow like it should. We don't wanna put that on the flush list after talking, the Balmore truck came in, the basin cleaner yesterday, and we got started with that, and he cleaned all the basins and a few of the culverts. They're gonna come back, they had a little, truck failure yesterday, later in the day, and, they're gonna come back and finish the job
Yeah,
someday next
we
week.
discussed the fact that they broke down, but what we didn't know was how much did they do before they broke down on Oak Ridge?
All the basins are cleaned, sucked out, and
The catch basins?
yes, the catch
What time
basins.
of day did he break down?
About 1:20.
So they got here a little after 7.
Yeah, they were here 7
So
o'clock.
say 7 o'clock they got
Started
here.
at a little after,
And they went to 1:20?
about 1:20 was when we finished. We were flushing 40 Oak Ridge. There's a culvert pipe there that we found last year or something that really needed flushing, and he got into the flushing that, and obviously was having some issues, so he stopped. And we got the pipe flowing, but it wasn't as clean as we'd liked it to be before the breakdown, and that was, like I said, about 1:20.
So I'm just trying to figure out if we're paying for 2 full days,
Right.
what's the remainder as we have? So if he went to 120, he basically got 6 hours out of
Right.
the 8.
Right.
So he owes 2 for 1 day, 2 hours for 1 day, so he owes us a day and 2 hours.
Right. Now I
How
don't.
are we gonna do that?
I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna have a whole day
Left to work to do?
left to work to do. With the remainder.
I'm betting between now and the time he comes back, you can find 50.
Like I was just gonna say, the problem with some of the pipes is that they're old metal
Can't take the
pipes,
power?
and that's why I've gotta knock a few off the list that I've had.
You think it's too powerful to break them?
Yes.
So 2 days would have been a good amount of time to hire them then.
Right. I think we nailed it on what we were thinking, as far as the 2
Huh.
days.
Okay. But again, to get back to the question, I mean, yet all the catch basins were done.
Yeah,
There's what, 6 or 7 of them in the village district?
maybe 8, yeah.
Maybe 8. And then the culverts that he also did were all along Appinville,
No. There was a culvert on Idlewise Drive.
otherwise.
There's 2 or 3 more up Oak that still need to be done.
No, I'm talking about what was done.
What was it? I think it was the Idlewise Drive culverts. I think we did 4 to 5 culverts yesterday, and I believe there's like 7 or so more. Idlewise Drive, the culvert there across from Gloria,
Yeah,
that was done. The culvert on the bottom of Oak Ridge and Idlewise, that's connected to that basin.
Yep.
Was done. I know there's more. I can't
They were
think off the
down
top.
on Little Shore,
Little Shore.
Geneva.
We were down on Geneva. Yep, we did. Those were the basins. I've got it written down in my other notebook.
okay. Yeah, please put that on your notes for next
Well,
week.
I have it all, yeah, and I've got the time on each basin
Yep.
that it was that he was sucking, and the time on each culvert that he was sucking, and the culverts where they're located. So like I said, off the top of my head here, I can't think of it, but
Okay, okay.
I
So
know there was like,
FEMA will reimburse 75% on the culverts, but not on the catch basins, so he's got notes that,
yeah, I guess it was like 45 or 47 Idlewise Drive. There's 2 pipes there that were flushed, 2 culvert pipes, so that's 2 of them. Yeah, so I think they were all along Idlewise Drive for the most part, and then going up Oak Ridge
Okay, good.
yesterday.
good.
Yeah. So that was that. So another one on Appernvale Way that we did last week was that extension that we had, that short pipe that we found when we walked the road, 22-20, right between those
Yep.
2. I believe it was a 12-inch
Yep.
metal pipe. our guy and his magical connections was able to get a piece of culvert pipe that size, and we bought a collar and we're able to extend that pipe. So we did that last week and dressed that all up nice. Yeah, so we also thought, since we extended that and we picked the collar up for that one on 13 Vale, but we never needed the collar. We have a collar, it's a 15-inch pipe there, and I believe that 57 Idlewise is a 15-inch pipe. We have pieces of culvert behind the building. We could maybe extend that pipe for now and build the header, if you guys wanna go that route. Remember, we were talking about just putting a header on the pipe as is?
So you need some choice stones for that, huh?
Well, we have some stones down on
You going into your wine cellar
Burn.
for,
What's that?
you going into your wine cellar for a nice stone?
Yeah, exactly. So we've got some stones down on Burn. We have some flat rocks out behind building 2. So we were thinking, if you guys are on board with it, if we gotta dig it out to put a header on it, we could dig it out, add 3 feet of pipe to it to make it even better and safer, and add the header.
Then we'll kick that culvert way down the road after
Well, then
that.
again, it's showing daylight,
Yeah.
so it's flowing. I mean, obviously it's an old pipe that's rusting out, but for now, it's not showing any sinkholes, it's not collapsing.
And will that make the part of Idos right near the culvert, it sort of has a dangerous drop off,
That's
which is
correct.
for someone like me driving like a dummy, or
Right.
trucks in the future.
Right, you veer off to the right in there, you're going in the ditch,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this would extend that pipe
Okay,
towards that house, into that area, and put a header on there, so that won't happen.
okay, good.
Which was what we were talking about, putting just a header on it to begin with, but
Right.
now if we extend the pipe,
Which is gonna fill in that hole even more.
correct.
Okay,
So that's something that we thought we could run by you, if you guys are interested in us going that route.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you need a motion or anything? Just take care of
No,
that.
we're not buying anything, right?
No, I'd already purchased the collar, so,
Yep.
and we have the pipe. So, another thing I wanted to touch base with, I don't know if you guys did, I don't see anything on the paper here, but, so, the pole by your house,
Jeez,
the way they put that new one in there, it's terrible for the district.
I know.
And I don't know if we could call and complain and have them move it.
We certainly can.
I think that'd be a good thing, cause for ditching purposes, plowing purposes, and drainage purposes, that thing's right in the road.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion, we contact Eversource.
I think the problem was after the accident,
Second,
the power was off for about an hour and a half, but then it came back, because they came out, they got it working again on a pole that was highly compromised due
Correct.
to the accident. So that was just a quick fix, and they needed to come in the next day knowing that that existing accident pole could come down. So they worked really quickly to get a new pole in, but they didn't consult with us at all, they just came in and did it.
they never do.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I don't
That's
believe that's
their-
part of the deal, that they consult with it, they just put
Correct.
them in.
Correct,
But I
they
think
just
if
put
we
'em in.
could say, hey, look, that's gonna be a problem, it's sticking in the road, I mean, anybody could see that.
they should take out that old pole too, the one that
Right.
was,
So I think that's something that
So is
needs,
that pole between 106 and 108?
no, it's between 104 and 108. It's in the lot that would be 106 if there was an actual house there, but it's an empty lot.
104 and 108. So the motion is to contact Eversource to move the pole further off the road at 106, 104 and 106 on West Drive.
That was already.
The brand new pole that sits,
It was already seconded.
yeah.
Further
Aye.
discussion?
I just know,
Please
Aye.
vote.
we need to kind of,
so then, so last week I looked at the load limit signs, so the ones entering Idlewise off of 113 all said, I believe, 10 tons, if there were one on all those entrances. And there's one that's on the backside of Idlewise coming in off the Madison side that says 8 tons.
In the one on Idlewise Drive, I sent the office a picture
yeah,
that has 2 screw holes on either side of the number 10, and then it's blacked out like there was something stuck on it. I think that number has changed
Right.
over time.
I think it probably has changed over time.
I'm not sure why.
But the 10 is correct, and the 8 is through traffic. It's in the ordinance. The 8 is also listed in the ordinance, but for through trucking, it should say 10.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, that sign could come down then, I mean, I don't know what you.
Then that sign needs to be replaced to match.
Yeah,
Right,
'Cause
yeah, we shouldn't have one end of the road saying 8
Right.
and the other end saying 10.
Right,
That's-
and I
you
mean,
have a 10-ton truck, you just drive around.
I did leave that message in the office there when I went out after the meeting and looked at those, so that's, you know, again, I'll look, I don't think we have any load limit sign, but I might, there is a stack of signs, old signs in the shop, I'll take a quick look through, and see if there's anything, but I'll let you know, I don't know what we have. Yeah. We're trying to do, we are not trying, we're doing a little repair on the big truck, the body there this morning. We had some steel laying around, so we're kind of welding that body back together piece by piece because it's pretty compromised and bad shape. Knowing that we're gonna be doing some hauling, trying to get that truck ready. The new tires were put on, they straightened the tarp out. I believe he straightened the arms of the tarp out, and I believe he put a new tarp that he had on. So that's getting ready to go and should be in better shape at the end of the day.
Speaking of Albany,
Yeah.
we were looking at the invoice for the springs that we just paid.
Yeah,
And the odd thing about the invoice was that it said that it was created in January of this year.
yeah.
Do you know what that little
So-
story is about?
Yes, the front of the plow, the trip edge, there's, I believe, 8 springs that go across the bar on those plows, and both plows needed those to be replaced. They replaced them on one of the plows and bought them for both, so they still have the springs for one plow. They did the work for one plow. They haven't done the work on the second plow.
So that's why it said they purchased them in January and they're holding the parts until we get the second plow.
Right,
coming.
now we've been wanting to get the plow over to them, cause I think there was something else that plow still needed as well, we just haven't gotten it over there since we took it off, and we just haven't picked it back up and brought it
Okay.
there at this point. So that's why those springs were purchased
That
at the
makes
same
sense.
time,
Yeah.
it just never got back
Yeah,
over
we
there.
we all picked up on.
Right, yeah,
It
Jen
says
asked me
these were
about
ordered
that
in
last week.
January. Why, why
Right.
are we seeing a bill in
Right,
June?
So,
Yeah.
so explain to me, on the bill, I'm looking at it right now, there was a quantity of 16 of what they call Trip Spring Super Track at $115 a piece for a grand total of about $1,847. So those were these Trip Spring Super Tracks?
yes.
Okay, what are those, just for my
Like I said, there's a
identification?
bar that goes across the front of the plow, and there's an edge, and it's a trip edge.
Okay,
So when you get into something too heavy and the plow won't, it trips, so it doesn't break it. And that's what those springs do, and they wear out over time. So at one point, you're driving down the road, and the things go blah, 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 because the trip edge just keeps tripping on you, when they get worn out. So we had them replaced,
And
and,
they washboard the road when they do that.
right.
yeah,
So we had them replaced on one truck, and the other truck wasn't quite as bad, and we just never had the time to get it back down there during the storm after storm after storm. So they purchased for both trucks, repaired one, and didn't repair the other at this point. So they have the springs, that's why eight go to a plow.
oh, so wait a minute, I'm a little, this particular bill is for 2 trucks, not just the International?
These are for the Dodges,
Oh, these for the Dodges?
yep, the
Okay.
18 and the 19 Rams.
Okay, I'm a mistake, okay. And then there's the other big charge on there, just again for my edification. It says quantity code 1, steel tubing 1.750 outside diameter times 1.5 interior diameter times pivot rod.
That's the rod that the springs go on into the trip edge.
Okay,
They replaced that as well.
okay. We approved the bill, we just
Right.
we just wanted a little I wanted a little explanation on the line items, what they were, what,
Yep, no problem.
okay.
I know you're running around doing a lot of stuff. I'm wondering if we could ask Albany to call Buffalo Blower and have somebody at Albany Service talk to Justin, the tech support guy who sent us the stuff, but said more to me in the phone than what
Right.
the picture said, and
Yeah,
rather than us get between the blower company and the people doing the work,
right.
have them talk to them directly and come up with a
Okay.
plan.
I could have Alan do that.
You just
Yeah.
need to get him Justin's phone number.
Yeah, I'll
out
give him the
that-
manual and that I gave you, and it's got the numbers on
Wouldn't
there.
that be nice to fix that?
It'd be awesome. You know, Yuri was out there
I saw him with the backpack blowing the rain.
Yeah, he was blowing some of the ditch lines out on Oak there, cleaned them up nice. And you could see that the job he did, the before and the afters, and it's like night and day. And, you know, I've done it with the backpack blower. I've walked up and down that whole road and done that in the past. You know, the machine makes nice, easy work of it.
Much quicker.
Oh, absolutely. You do the whole
Safer.
district in the same time you could do one road.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so, yeah, that would be very sweet.
Did you make it over to Bergdorf this morning?
I did. I took a ride down there. I saw Stewart's machine there, and then he called me and said he was going to get started. The guys were going to check on him now while I was here in case he were to call. He could at least talk to Tony and see when he was going to get ready for hauling some material.
Did you see any test holes?
No, he wasn't there at that time. So we were working in the shop, and I just came here. So they were going to go take a look at it while I came here to see where he was at.
I saw him this morning when he arrived at 8,
Yeah.
and I pointed out to him that the north side of the road is all Idlewild property after you get to the culvert. From the culvert going down towards Granville
Oh, okay.
is all district property,
Nice.
and that he could shape it, but he could also push rocks way off into the trees from there without having to haul that stuff.
Right.
So he thought that was great that he
Yeah.
could. And then talked about taking advantage of that as the village does all of the roads, is that we can build shoulders like you and I have been talking about, all of us have been talking about. Good material can be put on the shoulders of the road and improve the road as we go. It doesn't
Right.
all have to be hauled away.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else do you have?
Um.
That's a lot.
Yeah. That's about what I've got.
Got it.
If you don't have any other questions for Jeff, then I'll make a motion that we go into non-public session, and when we come out of non-public session, we will recess this public meeting
Yes,
until tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We'll meet at Hotwell, and then we'll move the meeting at 1:15 to look at a driveway application for Granville. And then we move the meeting to 2 o'clock to the DPW garage
yes.
for an employee review.
Second.
So I'll do a roll call vote on going into non-public session. Nancy, how do you vote on non-public session?
Aye.
How do you vote on
Aye.
non-public session? And I vote aye also, so 3-0 will go into non-public session. Thank you, Carol. It's at 10:12.